If you've never used a Taylor Test Kit before, it might look like a lot, all those bottles and color charts, but it's really not as complicated as it might seem. We're here to help you break down each test step by step, so you can quickly and confidently check your pool's chemistry anytime. And before long, testing your water will feel like second nature. Today, we're using the Taylor K-2006C. Check out our channel for other videos on this kit. Let's dive into this together. First, we'll test free chlorine, the portion of chlorine actively sanitizing and oxidizing the water. For commercial pools, free chlorine should typically be kept between 2 and 4 parts per million, depending on local health codes. The bottles for testing our chlorine will have yellow caps. Fill the test tube to 25 milliliters with pool water. Add 2 level scoops of DPD powder R0870. The water should turn pink. Then, fill the syringe with 1 milliliter of R0871 titrating reagent. Add 1 drop at a time until the pink color disappears and the water turns clear. Count the drops. Each drop equals 0.2 parts per million of chlorine. Multiply the number of drops by 0.2 to get your free chlorine level. In our example, 20 drops times 0.2 equals 4.0 parts per million of free chlorine. Next, using the same water sample, we'll measure total chlorine, which includes both free chlorine and combined chlorine. Combined chlorine forms when chlorine reacts with contaminants such as sweat or ammonia, creating chloramines, the source of that strong pool smell. In a well-balanced pool, combined chlorine should be less than 0.2 parts per million. Anything higher means it's time to shock or superchlorinate. Using the same water as our free chlorine test, add 5 drops of R0003, the combined chlorine reagent, and swirl gently. If any combined chlorine is present, the sample will turn pink again. If that happens, titrate once more with R0871, 1 drop at a time, until the sample turns clear again. Count those drops and multiply by 0.2 to find your combined chlorine level. In our case, the water sample stays clear. That means no combined chlorine is present, and our free chlorine and total chlorine are equal. Now, we'll test pH, which measures how acidic or basic the pool water is. For commercial pools, the ideal pH range is between 7.2 and 7.6. The bottles for testing pH will have red caps. Rinse your test tube thoroughly, then fill it with fresh pool water up to the 44 milliliter line. Add 5 drops of R0004, the pH indicator solution, and swirl gently to mix. Compare the color of your sample to the pH color chart on the back of the test block. If the color falls between 2 values, the pH is the average between those 2 readings. In our example, the color appears around 7.8, which means the pH is slightly high and should be lowered. To determine how much adjustment is needed, refer to tables D and E in your Taylor guidebook. Since our pH is high, we'll use the acid demand test with R0005, the acid demand reagent. Add 1 drop at a time, swirling and checking the color after each drop, until the sample reaches the ideal color, around 7.6. Record the number of drops used, then use your guide's chart to find the correct treatment dosage for your pool's gallonage. If your pH is too low, you'll use R0006, the base demand reagent, instead. The process is the same. Add 1 drop at a time, swirling and comparing the color after each drop, until it reaches the ideal pH range. Record the number of drops used, then use your guidebook chart to find how much pH increaser or soda ash to add based on your pool's gallonage. Next, we'll check total alkalinity, which acts as a buffer for pH, helping to keep it stable and resist sudden swings. The ideal alkalinity range for most commercial pools is 80 to 120 parts per million for a gunite pool and 100 to 150 parts per million for vinyl liner pools. The bottles for testing alkalinity will have green caps. Fill your test tube with 25 milliliters of fresh pool water. Add 2 drops of R0007 thiosulfate reagent and swirl to mix. Then add 5 drops of R0008 total alkalinity indicator and swirl again. The sample should turn green. Now, using R0009 sulfuric acid titrating reagent, add 1 drop at a time, swirling after each drop. Count the drops until the color changes from green to red. That's your endpoint. In our example, it took 10 drops. Multiply the number of drops by 10 to get your total alkalinity in parts per million. So, 10 drops times 10 equals 100 parts per million total alkalinity. Record your result and refer to your Taylor guidebook for interpretation and treatment recommendations. Next, we'll test calcium hardness, which measures the amount of dissolved calcium in the water. For commercial pools, the ideal calcium range is typically 100 to 300 parts per million. The bottles for testing calcium hardness will have blue caps. Fill the large test tube to the 25 milliliter line with fresh pool water. Add 20 drops of R0010, the calcium buffer, and swirl to mix. Then add 5 drops of R0011L, the calcium indicator, and swirl again. If calcium hardness is present, the sample will turn red. Next, add R0012, the calcium hardness titrating reagent, 1 drop at a time while swirling after each drop, until the color changes from red to blue. Count the total number of drops used. In our example, it took 30 drops. Multiply the number of drops by 10 to get your calcium hardness in parts per million as calcium carbonate, CaCO3. So, 30 drops times 10 equals 300 parts per million calcium hardness. Record your result and refer to your Taylor guidebook for interpretation and treatment recommendations. Finally, for outdoor pools, we'll test for cyanuric acid, also known as stabilizer or conditioner. Ideal cyanuric acid levels are typically 30 to 50 parts per million for outdoor pools. The bottles for testing cyanuric acid will have white caps. Fill the small mixing bottle to the 7 milliliter mark with fresh pool water. Then add R0013 cyanuric acid reagent up to the 14 milliliter mark. Cap the bottle and mix for 30 seconds by gently inverting it several times. After mixing, slowly pour the cloudy solution into the small, clear view tube. Look down from the top of the tube toward the black dot at the bottom, and stop filling when the black dot just disappears from view. Read the value at the liquid level on the side of the view tube and record your result as parts per million cyanuric acid. With the Taylor K-2006C, you can measure every key parameter with precision. And once you've learned the process, it's fast, consistent, and reliable every time. If you need replacement reagents, refills, or another Taylor kit, we've got them right here at Easy Pool and Spa Supply. And our team's always happy to help you keep your pool balanced.